Yeah, so grew up in a Christian household, although it was not something that was like super stressed. We went to church on a semi-regular basis, but it wasn't really something that was like deeply a part of our everyday lives, if that makes sense. And then the older that I got, the more important it became to me. But growing up, I was in a Baptist church, and then when I got older, moved to non-denominational and had been in a non-denominational church pretty much my entire adult life. And was happy, I thought, and wasn't really searching for anything else. And then found out a little bit more, I guess, about the history of the church and what was believed at the beginning. So, stuff like sola scriptura and what was believed about the Eucharist versus what the Protestant church believes is much different. And so that kind of started me on a journey of trying to figure out what the Orthodox Church was about. Because prior to that, I didn't know what the Orthodox Church was. So it was really looking at the history of it and seeing what the original church believed and how that was different from what I believed and what I'd been taught my whole life. Protestant ideas and theology is what I'd grown up with. So it was, there was a certain level of comfort there. And honestly, at that point, really all I had to compare it to was, other Protestant denominations and Catholicism. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't know really anything about the Orthodox Church.
Right.
And so I guess I kind of thought I had it figured out. I knew that I wasn't Catholic and didn't believe what the Catholics believed. Because I remember doing some research on the Eucharist and what the original church believed and just trying to figure out what changed, because understanding that the church had a view on what it was for the first 1500-ish years, and it wasn't until the Reformation that that opinion changed or that theology changed with Protestants. So trying to figure out why that happened, what happened there, and trying to find answers within the Protestant community. Asking my pastor what happened, what changed, why do we view this differently now than they did then, and not really getting a good answer. I think most Protestants, if they're honest, they understand that the way that the Protestant church as a whole, and there's a lot of variation, but as a whole, does church much differently than the way the original church did it. And so I think it was coming to the understanding that the theology that I had on certain things was very different than what the original church had. Early on, I had some questions for sure, some things that I wasn't sure about as far as what the theology was and where it came from. But I think once I got those questions answered, for me it wasn't hard. My wife came with me, the first time she had come with me, she mentioned that she felt more welcomed after being here one time than she did at 2 years at our old church. So I think it's just the hospitality of everyone, which, that kind of played a part in who I picked for my patron saint, and honestly who I picked to be my my godparent. So, like, you're never gonna, I guess, have it all figured out or know everything. There's too much to know. So, I mean, I'm very, I guess, young in the journey. So, I'm just looking forward to gaining more understanding.